DCM works, putting the I back in team.
It was probably a song that reminded me of it, or I'd done an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Writing is definitely an isolating thing.
From an outside perspective, that's weird as
It makes
fuck.
us look really mental.
But that is
Because of what it kind of said about art.
I had fun in bits. There were fun bits.
we went and bought a value pack of straps.
Oh my god, we did. There's a big lesson here to learn about storytelling. Hey guys, welcome back to the Art for Artists podcast, official podcast of Digital and Creative Media Works. My name is David DCM, creative director, lead writer, and joined as always by my co-host Ben.
That's so dumb.
Fucking laughing at me like some kind of asshole.
There was just a weird pause in that intro.
Yeah,
Everywhere.
the shirts everywhere, the stuff everywhere. It's a dreary day in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And today we are talking about the humour of Bo Burnham's Make Happy.
Art is dead. Art is dead. Art is dead.
Now this is kind of a new...
It's a sad thing.
It's a sad... Well, it's interesting.
It's Bo Burnham.
It's Bo Burnham, so it's sad and satirical and funny, but mostly sad in a funny
Mostly
way.
sad.
So, like... okay, so it's been like 3 years since he's put anything out.
Well, there was a What.
Yeah,
which
so
is
What
about
was...
2013.
Yeah, so What was 3 years ago, and then he's got this new Netflix hour comedy special, which is Make Happy. And the whole premise of the... So he's a stand-up comic that sort of Tim Minchin style plays songs.
Yeah, music. Like he started out doing sort of songs on YouTube.
Yeah, that was how he got big.
And
And you know, they've got
started-
like 20 million views and stuff. Like he's massive.
Yeah,
He could pretty much never work another day in his life. Like that's how much money.
yeah, but
made.
he does because he's.
But he
sad.
does because he's sad, and that's sort of the interesting thing about him as a person. But what's fun is, so yeah, he could basically have retired at 20, like because he got big on YouTube back when the money to be made was crazy.
Yeah, when
like
it mattered.
yeah, and like the ad revenue that he got from those, it was just like literally
Just
like
a lot of money.
incomprehensible. From like at the moment, you know, it would be the equivalent of like probably how much Game Grumps would make in about 2 months is how much he made per video. You know, like an insane amount of money.
Which is why he's doing comedy shows now.
So he got a deal with Netflix to do 3 specials. So he did What? He did Words. Well, sorry, he did Words. He did What? And then he's just finished Make Happy.
What's Words a show?
Yeah,
Wasn't that
yeah,
just
it was
a song?
No, it was a show. It was a whole show. It was good.
I mean, I must have seen it because
Maybe
I've seen What, definitely.
I don't know if it's on
What is
Australian
on
Netflix.
Well, What is just on YouTube.
Yeah, What's on YouTube. I don't think Words is on Australian Netflix.
Yeah, well, I've seen What.
Yeah, What's great.
Probably seen Words.
Probably. You probably heard it at least. It's the album.
I know the song.
Spotify.
Oh, it's the album.
Yeah.
I've listened to that.
Yeah, that's what that show. Well, the album is from the show.
Yeah, I've done that.
So yeah, what's interesting about this particular one, as opposed to his other stuff, is that he kind of, you know, he set out to do a deliberate. You know, the other ones they do a deliberate thing. So What is all about like how dumb life is and the fact that pretty much everyone has conflicting opinions about pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Words is about sort of
Puns.
It's about it's not it's sort of about the
word jokes.
Yeah, it's about the idea of performing. Well, I guess all of this stuff is about performing, but Words in particular is about the idea of what it means to be a performer.
Yeah.
And then What is about sort of what it means to be a performer, but in a sort of reflexive way where he kind of looks at, well, what does it mean to be a person who gets to get up and share your opinion? You know, less about performing and more about what he has to say.
And Make Happy is just sad.
Well, Make Happy is about it's about it's about how people find happiness in performance, really.
And it's about meeting expectations and not wasting people's money was a pretty common trope.
Yeah, well, because that's sort of, you know, the whole show really looks at where people look to for happiness in performance.
Yeah.
So he talks a lot about like your Katy Perrys and people like that, and how he sort of, you know, he has this great bit where he's like, basically, if you look to Katy Perry for like advice on how to be happy, you should actually just kill yourself because you're totally lost. You know, it's a satirical bit, but it's, you know, it's very pointed, like everything he does. But the whole show kind of revolves around that idea of, well, how and why do people spend so much time looking to others for happiness when even the people that make the stuff that should make you happy are fucking miserable.
Yeah.
And like he has this line in What, maybe What, I'm not sure. maybe it was this show, I don't know, where he says, people think this is a meritocracy. It's not. I'm successful and I'm still fucking unhappy. Like that.
That's in.
Is that what? Or is it
No, it's in this one.
Yeah.
It's in
What's
Make
I can't
Happy.
think of the exact phrasing of it in the show, but that is like such a poignant, you know, he's like,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm crazy successful and I'm still fucking miserable.
Yeah.
And like, that's such a weird, you know, and a lot of that show is about that weird thing where he's like, yeah, I'm not happy because no one is.
It's a weird, it's almost uncomfortable, especially towards the end of the show where it's like, you're like, shit, I didn't expect to get feelings at the end of this comedy show. It's like, what's going on?
It reminds me very strongly of Tim Minchin in the early days, where it's sort of, you know, a great example of this is You Grew On Me, a song by Tim Minchin, where it starts off as, he talks about, like, love songs are always about, like, oh, boy meets girl across the room, and it's like love at first sight. But Tim Minchin has this song about the creepy uppy kind of love, and he basically equates love to cancer. And he's like, you grow on me like a cancer. And it starts off as this funny thing, and then it gets, like, really serious. And he's like, you know, I didn't notice, and I've got to this point now where getting you removed would probably kill me too. And you go, oh my god.
You're like, what the fuck?
You're like, whoa, that got real. And you're like, and then people are like, oh yeah, I know exactly what he means. That kind of like cancerous codependence thing. Same thing with Bo Burnham. Like, From God's Perspective is my favorite song of his, which is where he sings a song from God's perspective about the world, and it starts off quite funny, you know.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, people shouldn't look to the Bible for answers. It's ridiculous. And then he's like, you know, you shouldn't abstain from rape just because you think that I want you to. You shouldn't rape because rape is a fucked up thing to do.
Yeah.
Like,
make some word jokes.
He's like, I didn't think I had to write that one down for you. Stuff like that. He's like, you can eat pork because why the fuck would I give a shit? Like, you know, stuff like that. It starts off as kind of funny, and then it gets very sort of real. And he's like, you know, none of you, you'll pray so badly to go to heaven, but none of you are going to heaven. Why would you think that? Like, that's such a dumb thing to think. And then he goes on and he's like, well, you know, my love of being God's love is something that God's love is something that when you've earned it, you don't need it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a very kind of serious song, and it ends brilliantly. And it's this kind of weird. It's that transition from, oh, it's funny and we're laughing, and that lets Bo in, and then he just fucking crushes you at the end.
Yeah.
That show kind of does the same thing, but you don't really see it. Like, there's the bit toward the middle end where he's crouched down at the front of the stage, and he makes a bunch of really valid points. It's not even like, they're not really jokes at all.
What about Doritos cans being too?
No, before that, the section before
Pringles
that.
cans being too small.
No, the section before he does that, where he kneels down at the front of the stage and he's just talking to the audience. That's where the line about the meritocracy comes in.
Yeah.
And he's like, basically none of you are going to be happy if you keep... He talks about audiences. This is a point that I wanted to bring up that I definitely agree with. And it's hard for us to do this because we live our lives... Well, you and I spend time performing deliberately, right?
In a sense, I wouldn't really call this performance.
No, but we have an
It's
audience, so
kinda
we're
just sitting
performing
down in front of a
but we're
microphone,
performing for someone, really. You know?
Yeah.
Whereas... And that's, you know, I was talking to Zamet from Sans Pants a few months ago, and then later Gabe, and we kind of all came to the same conclusion, that people that perform regularly for a living, or do it as a kind of a job in the sense that we do, we tend to perform less in other aspects. So, like, you know, because social media is really a performance, right? Like, that's something that's the point that Bo makes. He's like, you know, we perform for each other endlessly, and it's fucked. Like, it's fucked up. You know, you want people to think that you have this great life, and you have to perform and do these things, and he's like, you know, you shouldn't do that. If you can live your life without an audience, you should definitely live your life without an audience.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, kind of what the point he's making. He's like, performers who understand their place in society, like him, perform when they perform, and then his regular life, he doesn't have an audience. He just does his life.
Yeah.
Same thing with us. We're like, you and I, we're not big on your Facebook, you know, like, we're not posting all the time. We're not doing these things that other people are doing because we already have a place where we perform. But it's sort of segmented. Like, it's not part of our lives. It'd be like if we did a daily vlog or something. Like that, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I think...
Please never let us stoop to that level.
No, we never will. I think that's why Twitch streamers who Twitch every day, that's like a really dangerous way to live, right?
Yeah. Well, it's creepy as well. I think the ending of the... Not the ending of the show, the ending of the Netflix special is an interesting... is probably the most interesting part of the entire show, because the show has the opening bit in the...
Cat's here.
Hey, cat. in the
What are you looking at?
in the Netflix special where he's the clown
Yeah, he's going
and he
to
goes
the
to the
theater.
show.
It's a classic inversion of the typical start of a comedy
Yeah.
special where the person walks to the concert venue.
Yeah,
You know, you'll see if you watch any Netflix comedy special, they all
They'll-
start
yeah.
the same way.
and
But Bo wears clown makeup,
it's clown makeup, and he's sad the entire
and he's
time.
sad the whole time because
that's yeah.
very funny and weird
The
and disturbing.
it's a little weird.
Yeah.
I think the ending is interesting because it's like the dark room, and he's playing, and
Well,
he's
he walks-
performing to just to you.
He walks from the stage to like a shed, basically.
Yeah, like
In
it.
a
Well,
back room.
yeah, the sort of soft cut to that, and then, but when he just kind of stops halfway through the song at the end, which is talking about how to make. It's just more of the same. How to make happiness. Well,
Sorry, I'm just the cat. I don't know what he's doing.
Kaz just doing things. Right. See you
What's he
later.
doing?
He's leaving.
Oh.
He's out of the door. Oh. Okay, never mind.
He's been my cat's been sick lately, so we've been he's been having like a bunch of painkillers.
Oh.
He's just been
a bit out of
stoned.
it.
Yeah, he's been real. Like he's not as stoned today, but yesterday he was just fucking zoinked all day.
That's good.
Just stoned to shit.
But the ending is interesting because when he finishes the song and he just opens the door and leaves, and then you get like the little background image of him
of
being happy, and you're like, well, what?
Yeah.
And it's an interesting sort of perspective because it does a few things. It's like, is it all a facade? Is he actually fine, or is it him being happy as the facade itself? And when
Yes.
he's alone with just the audience, he's actually just like, how the fuck do you live?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, and you're like, is the life that we see outside of that door him performing, or is him on the stage his
him
real?
performing. Yeah, like what's the performance and what's real, and
Which is
that's
crazy complicated.
yeah, because it can go either way. Because he's always had, like, even back to his YouTube days, he had a very sort of
He's got a stage persona.
he would throw in jokes about how his dad hates him.
Yes.
And at the time it was like, it's funny because that can't be true. Because it was comedic timing and it just sort
and
of
it's
fit. And you're
funny
like,
and
it's
you're
part
like-
of his character. But he's in every single one of his shows, he's been sort of repeating. You're like,
Yeah, he
is-
has themes that keep coming through.
yeah, and you're like, is it actually a cry for help, or is it just his stage persona?
Well, a lot
and
of
I
that-
and I think, and like, no one really knows. He like,
Well, that's
to
kind of
his
the
credit,
point.
he does a good job of hiding the truth if it is
Well, that's
true. Because like his Twitter is horrible, his Tumblr is worse.
isn't that sort of the point of him, like as a performer and a person?
To keep this sort of persona.
Well, to
yeah.
keep these two possibilities at one time, because one of his biggest messages is that life is not black and white.
Well, the ending
Right?
to this show was sort of the first sort of hint that there is another side. We just don't know what side that is. We don't know where.
Yes.
We don't know whether it's that side that it showed us was his real side or that's his performance.
Yes.
And his performing arts is his
real side.
real side.
And I think the truth is that
it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter, and also it's all it's all performance because people perform for themselves. That's the point he makes in the show as well. You know, he's like, what we want to do is every night we want to go to bed and look at our phone and see like a really great performance of our own life,
Yeah.
and review it well. That's something that we all seem to want for some reason, but it's fucked. And that's kind of what I think that comes to that point that you made, which is like he's kind of trying to say that realistically, you know, it doesn't matter who you are. You're always performing for yourself, so why would you
Yeah.
make that worse by trying to perform for others at the same time?
Yeah.
So he's like, you might as well, you know, if you're a performer, you perform on stage. And then he's done a really clever thing where he's built this stage persona that has a persona beneath it that's still a stage persona. So in what he at the end of the show, he thanks the audience for coming, and he's like, it means the world to me, and this is my absolute favorite thing to do. Then he says, okay, I'm going to recede back into my stage persona. And he goes, oh, blacked out for 30 seconds there, that's so weird. But the persona underneath the stage persona is still a stage persona because
it has to be.
Bo is like it just doesn't work like that. And it's like, is he gay or is he straight? We don't really know, because he's very flamboyant and he's got his stage character is gay, but his stage character also talks about his girlfriend.
His stage character is gay.
But then it's like, is Bo gay? And the answer is, well, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
Because
it-
both his stage persona and his non-stage persona, if you want to call it that, are performances.
Also, it doesn't affect you in the slightest, so it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
And so people are like, oh, well, an interesting thing actually is when he was first pretty big, people were like, oh, well, if he's not gay in real life, this is super offensive.
You're like, well,
And it's like, no, it's actually the
not.
opposite of that. The
That's
point,
fine.
Well, it's really not. It really is fine, because really what it's saying is that it doesn't matter whether or not he's gay. The point he's making is still valid. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't really matter whether or not his family disown him because he's gay or whatever it is. Because the points he's making is still valid. It doesn't matter if, but like all of the points he makes about himself don't necessarily have to be about himself. And I think that's why he's so successful.
Yeah.
Because people don't really notice that happening. But they're like, oh, well, he can pretty much be anyone he needs to be to get his message across in a funny way.
Yeah. I think the way he gets points across, like the way his show is structured, and is a lot different to how other comedians sort of do things. Most comedians will just tell jokes, even if there are comedians that have music incorporated, like Tim mentioned, they will tell joke and then play music. But Bo does things pretty differently with his shows, where they're very structured.
Everything is planned.
Yeah, on the surface, that was kind of the one thing that this show was a little bit different to the other ones, where even though none of his shows have been like participatory, there was a little bit of it. Some of it was just people heckling, which he does a really good job of.
That happens to him all the time. And
yeah,
he does great jobs of dealing with
that.
But
the Rob joke, the song about Rob.
Well, that was completely planned.
Well, yeah, no, it was completely planned, but all he had to do was just pick a guy in the audience. So he just picked a dude.
Yep.
His name was conveniently short.
Yep.
But any name would have fit.
Yep.
And then the thing's planned. Like it's that kind of idea where it's like, where it is a show, it's not really a comedy show. Like I've been to comedy shows
truth is, it is a one-man show. And he makes that joke in Words, where he's like, people call me a comic, which is so disingenuous. I don't do comedy shows, I do one-man shows,
Yeah.
And there's it's like, and that's funny because it's pretentious,
Yeah.
but he's right.
Yeah.
It's not a comedy show, but it is funny, but it's a one-man show. It's a one-man show, yeah. But it's also a comedy show, so like it's very meta and crazy. And like, I mean, even the fact that the shows that he do, or like the shows that he does.
The shows that he does.
Yeah, I don't know why that was hard for me for some reason.
No, I was confused as well.
Shows that he does. Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
The shows that he do.
Yeah, the shows that he do.
Fuck! What?
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 Oh, no!
Are we having a brain aneurysm here?
It keeps happening. We're stuck in the loop.
The shows that he performs.
Yeah, we're stuck in the pronunciation loop. The shows that he performs are about performance.
Yeah.
Which in itself isn't a performance about performance. It's performing about performing because it's not. But like, it's just this super weird meta thing that means that he can do stuff like he has a song in which is Andy the Frog, where he tells an allegory about a frog that falls in love with another frog, follows it, a turtle gets shot, then an alligator eats the frog and the frog dies. And it ends, and he goes, and the real lesson here is that we can't learn anything from this because it's about animals. Why the fuck would it apply to us? Yeah. Really, what that's about is about the joke that he did before from God's perspective. Really, it's about the Bible. But he does it in a fun way because it's about a frog. But you don't think it's about the Bible because you're like, oh, that was a fun joke. Of course that story doesn't apply to us.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. But ultimately, the subtext of that is, well, the truth is that most allegorical stories, he's invoking the fallacy of myth. Not myth.
Fallacy of allegory.
Yeah, the fallacy of allegory.
Wow. Try again,
It's going to
David.
be a long day for me. The fallacy of allegory.
There you go.
Which is that idea that, stories actually apply to us. Because stories have a start and an end, and they often have closure, and in truth, life has zero closure whatsoever.
Yeah.
And any closure you do have is basically you fabricate it so you can survive. And that's something that song is about, but it's funny because it's about a frog, then it takes these sharp left turns, and he gets eaten alive by an alligator, and it ends with him screaming and dying. But it's like a fun little fairy tale tune, and then it's murder, and you're like, whoa, but it genuinely has something to say about something he did earlier in the show, and then the bit after that goes on to keep making the points he's making the whole show.
Yeah.
The cat's just meowing in the background.
The cat's just having a day.
He's high as fuck. So, like, that idea, definitely is present in Make Happy. I think it's just a lot more... he does a lot more stuff that's on the nose now. But for a much cleverer reason, like the country song that he did, right, where he makes fun of country singers. It's very funny, but it also makes a whole bunch of valid points about the music industry and country music and the people that are involved in that industry. And he takes a passing swipe at Keith Urban, which is great.
Yeah.
But he
takes a swipe at hip hop music. He takes with the fucking I'm a Little Teacup, short and stout.
Yeah. And
I mean-
those are like they're clever, you know. And he has a swipe at Katy Perry, and their swipes. I say they're swipes because he's not swinging. He's just saying.
Yeah.
He's not like, oh fuck, you know, because he has a joke in What About Justin Bieber, where he's got the song Repeat Stuff, which is amazing, where he
Yeah.
basically implies that pop singers are working for Satan, right?
Yeah.
And he's got a great bit on Conan where Bo finds out that Bieber was in one of his concerts when he did that bit, and he's like, I felt really bad because I basically, you know, this young 17-year-old guy was out with his girlfriend just to have like a fun night away from the press or whatever.
You
They
insulted the
they
fuck
had to
out.
sneak in the back after the lights went down. He's like, I feel really bad for this kid, and I basically implied that he worships Satan. He's like, that's not the point of the song. The point of the song is that the people that consume pop music are fucking idiots.
Yeah.
And the fact that we keep paying people, you know, we pay people to we read magazines that make us feel ugly, and then we pay people to tell me that they love me, kind of thing. Like it's
Yeah.
that's that cycle, whatever. But he's like, I felt bad because the song isn't about Justin Bieber, like, and that's such a like mature and different way to approach your own work, where he's like, you know, he's not making fun of Katy Perry. He's making fun of the paradigm that Katy Perry exists in.
Yeah.
He's making fun of the way that performers have to perform now to get popular. Like, he's not sitting there going, oh, fuck Katy Perry, what an asshole.
He's not like fuck Katy Perry in particular. It's fuck the idea of Katy Perry.
Yeah, fuck the idea of Katy Perry that they've made her become, and fuck the idea of people like Keith Urban who, you know, that country song is great, but it's more on the nose about its actual subject matter. So you walk away and you're like, oh yeah, well, country music does do that a lot, and these guys who do it are super, like, disingenuous and gentrified or whatever.
Well, there was a bit less music in this show than previous shows, which is probably why the format is very well much a video show rather than
What he's done before.
Words was,
Yeah.
which was an album. And then What was more of an experiment, I guess, because he
It's- 'cause
released
it's a
it
bit
for
of both.
free on YouTube.
Yeah.
And
And then it was on Netflix, and then he put it on iTunes and all that stuff.
and now with Make Happy, and like it's a lot more like What, you know, he has the editing joke,
Yeah, he
that he
does,
does.
he cuts between two
the continuity error.
Yeah.
And then the because in What it was
Yeah, the video editors are so, and then it cuts.
yeah, and
yeah,
it
the
just
joke
cuts.
gets cut off
Yeah.
by the video editor.
and
It's very clever.
because so it felt a lot more like What. And even though What still had a lot of the musical influence and it had a lot of music, Make Happy had a lot more music commentary
Yes.
and a lot less music.
It
a lot
was
more fart jokes.
yeah, a lot more sort of
Just visual comedy,
yes, and I think that
which is good because it's not many comedians do that kind
yes. Well, not many comedians do it as insanely well as he does. You
Yeah,
know, the
like-
ending of What, he has the song where it's all about, like, he has perfect timing because he rehearses, like he just he knows the show back to front. So he has the ending of What, where, because the whole point of What is that the whole thing is so insanely scripted,
Yeah.
because that's what performers do. Like, that's really the message. He's like, we have these, you know, we think that these representations of performers are like these things we should aspire to, but the truth is it's all a fucking act. And
Well,
you know.
there's elements of that sort of perfect timing in Make Happy as well.
Big time.
Where they'll just pull a gag and it's just perfectly
and
timed.
every single time
Yeah,
as well.
every time it's that.
He's got so at the end of What he does, it's the premise is that he's getting voicemail from people that used to know him.
Yeah.
So he gets a phone call from a girl who knew him in college. He gets a phone call from an agent. He gets a phone call from a guy he used to know, a guy that Bo used to live with. And it's really funny because he sort of points, and the different tracks will play, and he mixes it together into this really interesting message about
They
the
only
way
care
that people
about him because
perceive
he's
him.
famous now.
Yeah, and it's You Think You Know Me is what the
Yeah.
track is called. And he's like, you think you know me, but you literally have no idea who I am. And that's the whole point of what this is. And you should realize that you have no idea who Katy Perry is. And you should stop worshipping these people because they're people. They're, you know, worship them, like, appreciate their performances, but realize that they're performances. Because that's the message of What. And then Make Happy is kind of like the next evolution of that, which is you have to at some point grow up and realize that these performers they should be allowed to be as unhappy as everyone else. And we shouldn't have to perform and pretend to be happy,
Yeah.
you know? And it comes back to that idea that you actually talked about when we used to work at the restaurant together.
Jesus.
So
This
years
is
ago.
timing back, yeah.
Yeah, it was when you left, actually. And you I can't think of what we were doing.
When I quit or when
I'm not sure. I can't remember.
I mean, because you weren't there when I quit.
No.
Because you quit before me.
Yeah, so it must have been. It must have been just
when I
after
just
I
left,
quit.
yeah.
Yeah. So it was when I had the job that I'm working now, and we were really drunk, and you were sort of talking about this idea of like, because I was saying, because at the time, yeah, it's fair enough. We were pretty fucked. I was talking about this girl that I was seeing who was a waitress, and I'd had a conversation with her about how difficult, like, the expectations that are put upon you when you're in a service position, right?
Yeah.
People who come into your shop expect you to act a certain way. They expect you to perform for them, basically.
Yeah.
Right? And so this girl who I was seeing made this point, and I sort of was like, yeah, it's probably true, or whatever. But we were talking about it, and I just gone through some stuff personally, and I was like, the interesting thing is that, you know, in other roles that aren't public-facing roles, you're not expected to be the same way. Like, there's no expectation of performance when I go to my day job, and I sit at my desk and I do my graphic design and I do my social media management. There's no expectation there that I have to pretend to be happy.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm upset, or if I just look sad and tired, my coworkers won't comment on it. But if I bring it up, they'll be like, "Oh, I hope you're doing okay. You know, if there's anything that we can do to help, whatever." But the truth is, in a service role industry, if you turn up to work at your restaurant like that, people would be like, "Well, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is the worst service I've had. Why aren't you happy? What the And that's so unfair to expect of. A lot of the time, it's just kids who need to pay rent or whatever. They're going through college or whatever, and we're like, "No, dance for us, you fucking monkey, and pretend to be happy so that I can eat my food that I could have cooked myself and feel a little bit less guilty about how unhappy I'm making you." Like, it's fucked. And that was a point that you brought up. And that's a point that Bo kind of makes in this show. Is he's like, you basically are asking these people to perform, but the problem is that they keep saying yes, and they enjoy pretending to be these things, but it fucks you up. And it's actually something that BoJack Horseman does a lot in that show.
I mean,
where
the show was very had lots of connections to BoJack Horseman.
Really sort of very similar messages, kind of similar rhetoric. We will do an episode of BoJack at some point.
Season 3.
So
soon.
We'll do a season 1 and season 2 before that as well.
Probably,
which I'm pretty excited about.
I think we've done... Have we?
No, we haven't.
We've mentioned... It was in our best of last year.
Yeah, we talked about it in passing, but we'll definitely do a full episode on season 1 and 2. But similar messages and kind of that idea of, like, success is not the same thing.
Success doesn't make you happy.
The truth is that there's not a lot of things that do make you happy, but the biggest problem is when you try and measure how happy you are by comparing it to how happy other people seem to be.
Yeah.
And that's like the big message of Bo's show. He's like, if you compare yourself to fucking Katy Perry, of course you're going to feel unhappy.
Yeah.
Because she's got all this money, and you're like, oh, well, that's maybe what makes her happy. Or she's got this fame, maybe that's what makes her happy. But the truth is, she could be miserable as fuck. She's a performer.
Yeah.
Her job is to get up and perform. And that, like, I don't know, like, I just think Bo makes it accessible, and it's funny, and it's fun, but it's also weird and, like, serious, and I don't know, no one else is doing what he's doing. I think if Tim Minchin had continued, he would have got to a similar place.
Tim Minchin, I think, he's become... I mean, Tim Minchin went the road of, I want to just be a performer. I don't want to sort of make jokes at my own expense, is what... Like, because you could argue that Bo Burnham is making jokes at his own expense, but it's like, yeah, that's kind of the point, because he's drawing the parallels between his fame and the fact that he's still fucking unhappy. Whereas Tim Minchin was just like, I want to do, like, Broadway shows. So you're like,
kind of.
Okay, Jesus Superstar, whatever. Like, you knock yourself out. And it's like... And I think, they just went down different roads.
Yeah, they went different. Well, because, the truth is that Tim Minchin is sort of much more... I would consider him to be...
Older.
He's definitely older, and he got his fame at a point in his life where he kind of, like, he was ready for it.
He didn't get his fame online, which I think was another big thing.
What's that?
Well, he didn't get his fame through this new wave of celebrities.
You mean Tim Minchin, sorry.
Yeah, Tim Minchin.
Sorry, yeah.
Whereas Bo Burnham did.
Well, Tim Minchin... Well, the truth is with Tim Minchin, he got his popularity through comedy festivals. Like, he was very much of that old wave of comics where you got popular by literally going and doing shows.
Stand-up, yeah.
And he was insanely successful in his early years in Edinburgh and places like that, which is so important.
Whereas now it's
now he
online.
now he has a job. Like,
yeah.
And when someone like Bo Burnham got successful because, one thing he did blew up, and then he just kept blowing up, and he just got this sort of this fame that he himself has said he's like, I don't deserve to be famous. I'm just a guy. I'm just a he has the song Art is Dead, which I think is it's
a little on the nose.
but that's the truth. Is it's one of those songs where it's so, but it needs to be, because everything else he does isn't. It's maybe, I think it's his one track where he's not kidding. Like it's not funny at all. It's just a song about how like disingenuous it is to do what he does for a living.
Yeah.
The whole song Art is Dead is about the fact that like the show that he does has a budget, and he literally wakes up, I think he has this joke in Make Happy as well, he wakes up every day and decides not to inoculate 1,000 African children. Yeah. That's the first decision he makes every day. Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and he's like, he has the $200 lights, which could have fed thousands of starving Africans, but nah.
And he's like, no, that's a decision that he makes literally every day.
Yeah.
And that's it's interesting. And then you go back to Art is Dead, where he's like, this show has a budget, and artists like to pretend that they're complicated. But really, it's just, he talks about this idea of if you've ever been to a kid's birthday party, and there's that one kid that's like just a little attention attractor who wants everything to be about them, right? And he's like, performers really, and artists wake up every day and they want every day to be about them, right? Yeah. And he's like, it's not complicated to be an artist. You just have to be selfish and want every day to be about you. And he's like, maybe he's like, the song ends with, I'm just a kid, maybe I'll grow out of it. And then you get Make Happy, where it's like the evolution of that idea, where he's like, well, I've grown out of and into it,
Yeah.
To the point where he's a satire of himself now. And like, it's just very complicated and sort of, I think it's one of these, he's one of those performers where if you haven't experienced his stuff, it's worthwhile, even if you don't like the music. The points he's making are so interesting and are done in such an interesting and unique way that you really can't find it anywhere else.
Well, I mean, if you don't like the music, then the newest show will be right up your alley, because there's not much music.
There's not much, and the music there is sort of
sort of weird, just sort of
it's bizarre satire, and
it's kind of short.
Yeah,
there's no, like, he makes a joke that one of the funniest jokes I find is when I forget what song it is, but he's like, a worse comedian would have ran that out for 4 more verses.
A better comedian
wouldn't have done it at all. And then in the
it's the Pringles thing, isn't it? Oh no, maybe it's
it's something else. And then later on with the country music song, he makes a line which is just like, 4 more verses, and you're like, oh my god.
yeah, like, it's great. That, I don't know, it's very reflexive and interesting. I don't know, definitely check it out. It's on Netflix. What is on YouTube? You can just watch that one for free, which I definitely recommend.
Words is on Spotify.
Words is on Spotify, and it's on American Netflix, I believe. It's not on Australian Netflix, but yeah, definitely check it out. I mean, it's really interesting. I think it's definitely, it's really worth watching. Yeah, for sure. And we really enjoyed it. Question of the week: where can people find us, Ben?
I don't know, on the internet somewhere.
We're on Twitter at DCM_works. Patreon.com/DCMworks, and Apparatus is powered by hover.com, so you can grab our referral link. It's in the show notes, and that will get you a sweet $2 off if you want to buy or transfer a domain. They're great. I was saying
actually to you, a sponsor.
Yeah, and I was saying to you in the car that they're just like, they're so easy to use compared to everyone else. Like, I don't know, if you ever tried to register with domain.com, it's fucking hard. Like, the interface is fucked, and all of the big ones they bought like this template that they have for their website.
Yeah,
it's fucking trash. I can't use it. They have like a billing. Instead of just having like a payments page, they have like a billing account center or some shit. Like, I don't know. Hover's just easy. And
Hover.com /
and the fact that I can use it means that it's an easy.
Oh yeah, it's idiot proof.
It's idiot proof. I don't know. Get amongst it. And if you use our referral code, you get $2 off, and you help support the show.
Woo!
But yeah, so that's it for us. Big shout out to Brendan A. McQuaid, as always, Patreon over there. And yeah, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter. All the good stuff is in the show notes down below. And we will see you guys next week.
Goodbye.
It was probably a song that reminded me of it, or I'd done an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Writing is definitely an isolating thing.
From an outside perspective, that's weird as fuck.
It makes us look really mental.
But that is because of what it kind of said about art.
I had fun in bits. There were fun bits.
We went and bought a value pack of straps.
Oh my god, we did. There is a big lesson here to learn about storytelling.